Hello and welcome to Nikolai's genetics lessons. Couple days ago I already shown how to solve this problem using formula, but in a case if you would forget formula, I have today explanation how to solve this problem using pure logic. This may take extra couple minutes on your exam, but better spend extra couple minutes than fail question completely. So here is a problem. If a person who is heterozygous for polydactyly and autosomal dominant trait marries a person who is heterozygous for polydactyly, what is the probability that they will have 4 normal children and 2 children with extra fingers or toes? If you think that you can solve this problem on your own, I recommend you to pause video here, try to solve this problem on your own first, and when you would be ready you can run video again and you can compare your answer with my answer and explanation. So, first of all, this is autosomal dominant trait, and we are told that two heterozygous people marry, so genotype of each person would be capital A and small a. So when we cross two people with this genotype in their progeny, we can expect following ratios of affected and non-affected people. So capital A here, capital A, small a here, capital A and small a here, and small a here. Once again, I want you to pay attention that this is autosomal dominant genetic disorder, so both parents would be affected, even though they have one defective allele, but that allele is dominant. So in the progeny, as you see, also 3/4 would be affected, and only 1/4 would have normal genotype and phenotype. So 3/4 would be progeny with affected genotype and phenotype, and 1/4 would be genotypically and phenotypically normal. So according to our problem, we are looking for probability that if family would have 6 children, 4 of them would be normal and 2 of them would have extra fingers. So that means that those who would have extra fingers would have to belong to this genotype, and those who is going to be normal, this is their probability to belonging to this genotype and phenotype. So if we would have ordered sequence of events, for example, if the question would be what is the probability that the first child would be affected, we can say 3/4. And what is the probability that second child would be also affected? We also would say 3/4 probability. And what is the probability that for the rest children would be unaffected? And we would say every time this family would have a child, probability for a child to be unaffected would be 1/4. And because this is independent events, independent probabilities, each time this family would have a child, they would have chances 3/4 to be affected and 1/4 to be non-affected. So in other words, if we would ask what is the probability that the first child would be affected and second child would be affected and third child would be unaffected and fourth child unaffected and fifth and sixth. So whenever we use word and in order to connect independent events, that means we have to use product rule. So we have to multiply all these independent probabilities in order to find a probability for these events to happen simultaneously. And if we multiply all these numbers, we are going to get number that is 0.0021 and 97 to 66. This is going to be probability if sequence would be ordered, but according to our problem, sequence is not ordered. For example, I would use different notation, so I would use a cross for the child who is going to be affected, and I would use a check mark for a child who is going to be phenotypically normal. And as you see, there are different combinations possible when we don't have ordered number of events. For example, first child can be affected, then unaffected, then affected again, and 3 in a row that is going to be unaffected. So let's count how many variants we have here. So this was our first variant, 2 first children affected. This was our second variant, and the third variant would be also first child affected, then 2 children unaffected, then affected again, and then unaffected. As you see my logic, I started with 2 children who is affected. Second variant was I just move the second one place down the row. With my third example, the first one stay on the same place, but the second affected child move one place to the right. I'm going to use the same logic till the rest of my calculations. So as you see, this is very simple and you won't miss any variants. So next variant would be, once again, first child is affected, then 3 unaffected, affected, and unaffected. And another variant, first child affected, then 4 children in a row unaffected, and the last one affected. And next variant would be first child unaffected, then 2 affected, and 4 unaffected. I need more space, so let's clean a space here. So next variant would be unaffected first child, affected second, then unaffected, and affected, and 2 unaffected in a row. Unaffected, affected, 2 unaffected, affected, and unaffected. And next row, I hope you follow my logic. The last one would be affected, and we start with 2 unaffected, and then 2 in a row affected, and 2 unaffected. Once again, unaffected, unaffected, affected, unaffected, affected, and unaffected, and unaffected, unaffected, affected, unaffected, unaffected, and affected. And next row, 3 unaffected, then 2 in a row affected and unaffected, and unaffected, 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 affected, unaffected, and affected. And the last variant would be unaffected, 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 and 2 affected. So we listed all the possible variants. And now let's count how many variants we have. So this was our first variant, second, third, fourth, fifth, sixth, seventh, eighth, ninth, 10th, 11th, 12th, 13th, 14th, and 15th variant. So total number of variants, as you see, to have 2 affected children and 4 unaffected when order of the events is not given would be 15. So that means that we have to multiply this number by 15. 15 variants. And the answer would be, I don't have much space here, so I would continue here. So the answer would be 0.03, 29, 58, and as you see, we have to give an answer in rounded form, rounded to 4 decimal places, and as you see, if we round this number, we are going to get 0.0330. This is going to be this number rounded to 4 decimal places, and this is going to be answer B. It took me about 12 minutes to explain, but actually on the exam it shouldn't take you more than 2-3 minutes to solve this problem, even if you forget the formula. And if you want to know how to solve such problems using formula, especially if you would have more number of variants, for example, not 6 children like in this example, but say 9 or 10 children, of course it would be very time consuming to use this logical method, and of course it would be much more easier to solve this problem using formula. So I will add link to my other video where I'm using formula in order to solve this problem using factorial method, and you would be able to solve such problems using both logic and using formula. And this is all for today. Thank you for your attention. Please subscribe for my new videos that I post almost every day. Thumbs up if you like this video. Please write your comments, questions if you have any. Share this video with your classmates, and see you in the next video. Goodbye.